you're maybe most well known for the Emperor face on Mount Robson.
Yeah.
It's such a scary looking wall. It's so crazy. Like, can you, I mean, describe that? Like, how did that all happen? This is Climbing Gold. Maybe for context, I'll just add that for anybody listening, they would probably only know this from the footage in the film The Alpinist of Marc-Andre Leclerc soloing that face. And it's like the incredible aerial footage with him soloing at the top of this insane mountain. But I think for like a casual climber who's come into climbing more recently, that's really probably the only interaction they've ever had with the Emperor face on Robson. It's not something that you'd really know about unless you've seen the film The Alpinist and you see Marc-Andre up there soloing, like the aerial footage. It's completely insane. I mean, it's some of the craziest climbing footage that's probably ever been shot. Like, it's such an incredible wall and it's so intimidating. I saw Mount Robson for the first time in person last year, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like that's a really scary looking mountain. It's super intimidating. It's like big and just sticks out and looks, I mean, it's very intimidating. So anyway, so what was your experience climbing the Emperor Face?
Well, so I'd started climbing more in the mountains, and I'd gone to Europe that summer, and we climbed the north face of the Eiger, the second American ascent of it.
Hmm.
And then that fall, I went with a group, and I'd never been in the Rockies, and they said, "Well, we're going to go up to the backside of Robson." I'm like, "Okay," and I sort of knew there was a big face back there, but I didn't really know much about it. So we hiked up to the lake and turned the corner, and there that was. And I'm like, okay, well, I climbed the Eiger, and it's only 5,000 feet tall, and it was climbed in 1938. I'm now looking at a face that's 8,000 feet tall that only one party has ever been on and got off barely with their life. And I want to climb this, basically. I just thought,
I really thought you were going to go the other way, where you say all that and then you're like, "Nah, we probably shouldn't do that."
no, I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And we didn't get on it that time. And then I came back in the winter with Jim Danini and some people, and we got up there, and um, avalanches were roaring all over. It was really epic. But we didn't die, and we came back. And then I started going with different people who were sort of the better alpine climbers around. But I was kind of determined to do it, and I thought, well, I had built the skill set. I had my big wall stuff because we knew there was a big rock thing at the top of it that was, 1,000 or 2,000 feet tall, and we didn't know what that was going to be. The other people who'd been in it climbed up to that and gone, oh, we can't climb this, and gone home. But so, and when you're looking up at 8,000 feet of rock, it's really foreshortened, and you can't really tell what it's going to be.
Is it really an 8,000 foot face?
Yeah,
Dude, I didn't realize it was that big. It's like,
it is if you really start at the way bottom, of it.
that is so big.
Yeah,
I mean, the mountain is so prominent and so ominous. You look at it,
it's
you're
a
like, "Oh
cool
God,
mountain. It's a pretty neat.
man."
It's like a full Alpine Alps or Himalayas scale mountain that's stuck in
Yeah. Yeah,
the
that's like tucked
Rockies.
away in a corner. Yeah, it's like, I mean, the Rockies are cool, and then you're like, "Oh my God, what is that?" It's like
Yeah,
a totally different level.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's like
is
a little
totally
piece of the
different level.
Himalaya, like sitting tucked into like a national park in the Rockies. You're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
it all feels pretty tame around there," and then you're suddenly like, "Oh God."
yeah, it's
Huh.
pretty cool.
I didn't realize that it was a long-term project for you like that. So how many different trips did you make back to Mount Robson before you eventually climbed the Emperor Face?
I think we climbed on my fifth try,
Wow.
but two of the tries didn't even get to the
Well,
one of them didn't even get to the mountain, and you know what I
that's
mean?
fair for all alpinism, isn't it? You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, we went, we looked, conditions were bad, it was snowing, and we went home."
yeah,
Like
that's exactly right.
that's
Um, so I took a bunch of tries, but I was starting to get a handle on it. I'd been up on it a little bit, and I kind of had a sense of what it was going to be, I think. And then I met this guy, Mug Stump, and he was just a kid from Salt Lake, and he wanted to be a famous climber. And so I went on the Hummingbird Ridge of Mount Logan with four of us. And it turned out that the other people couldn't lead except Muggs could and I could. So I would lead all one day and he would lead all one day. And it turned out to be remarkably hard climbing. That route has never had a second ascent, and I don't think ever will be repeated, actually. Because big chunks of it have fallen off and stuff. And anyway, we were on that for 10 days, climbing all every day, carrying our giant packs and stuff. And at the end of it, he said he wanted to go there because he wanted to be a famous climber and he wanted to climb the Emperor Face with me. And then he would be a famous climber. I said, okay.
Was
So
Mug Stump was younger than you, huh?
yeah, 10 years, 15
That's
years.
so funny because I think of Mug Stump as being the like really really old, like
I'm really, really
with all due
old.
respect. But it's because because I've climbed with Conrad Anker quite a bit, and Conrad was kind of mentored by Mug Stump to some extent.
Yeah.
And so I've always thought of Mug Stump as like several generations back in climbing, like really old. And I'm like, oh wow, now I'm talking to somebody who's even older than Mug Stump.
Well, I was Muggs's mentor, and Muggs mentored Conrad, who mentored Jimmy or whoever, this
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it all gets passed down.
all gets
But I
passed
just
down.
that's so I don't know. I just always thought of him as like one of the elder statesmen of alpinism in the US, and it's interesting to hear, you passing that knowledge down to him.
Well, yeah, I think so. He was a really good. He was, had been drafted to play football in the NFL. He was a very um, Muggs without his clothes on is a pretty remarkable thing. He had a girlfriend in every town. They all knew what the deal was, that he could show up and stay for a week or a month or a day, but he was going on, moving on, and that was what they got. So, but he'd never done a big climb. So, as someone said in a book somewhere, it was Muggs's first big climb and my last,
Hmm.
essentially, that climb.
What were you trying to achieve on the Emperor Face?
I was trying to do the first ascent of the biggest cliff in North America.